And we are back to the fifth and the final segment of the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this final segment, we are going to look at not the college football, excuse me. I've been talking too much college football. We're going to look at the NBA's power rankings. They were released on Monday, and we're just going to go ahead and look at this list. Now, I'm not going to take into consideration the games that have happened this week so far because that would be unfair to these rankings, and I'm expecting this list to be a little bit bad because that's usually just been the trend of how these lists go. Like they overrate a lot of teams in my opinion, and they give teams a little bit too much benefit of the doubt when I don't really think they are that much of a competent team. But that's just me. So number 1 and number 2 are most likely going to be the Cavs and the Thunder. That's been the trend so far. They've been unbelievable. In fact, the only teams in NBA history that have had a better record to start the year than the Cavs so far are the 2008 Boston Celtics, the 2016, I believe, Golden State Warriors, and the 96 Chicago Bulls, I want to say. I believe those are the teams that had a better start than the Cavaliers. That's from what I looked at. It was one of those Bulls teams. Of course it was one of those Bulls teams, all you Michael Jordan fans. And as you could see, according to what it's saying right here, they won 10 of their last 11 games. And recently, on Tuesday, on New Year's Day, they ended up beating the Lakers. LeBron, go figure. The day that LeBron turns 40 is the day that he goes up against the Cavs, and it's the day that the Cavs beat him, of course. And, of course, OKC, they remain in the second seed. They have been unbelievable this season, and they don't even have Chet Holmgren. Like, this is a very well-oiled machine of a team. They are fantastic, and I expect them to go very, very far in the postseason this year because now they actually have that experience to do so. I genuinely think this team is destined to be great for a very, very long time, assuming they don't give up one of their important core pieces, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander continues to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Just fantastic. One of the things that really surprises me is their defensive rating. I feel like their offense is usually like the focal point of the team, especially with SGA, but their defense is very surprisingly good. And, fantastic. The Knicks are ranked at number 3. This is perfect. So far, we are starting this list off with a bang. This is perfect. The Knicks belong. They deserve to be in the 3rd spot. The Celtics, while I will say they are the Boston Celtics, I think right now the Knicks with Karl Anthony Towns, they are a very, very difficult team. And they might be a very threatening team for the Boston Celtics going into the playoffs. And I'm assuming the Celtics are directly under them. Yep. Makes sense. The Knicks, though, they are incredibly hot so far, and even with this list being a little bit outdated, the Knicks, they ended up beating the Jazz. Not a very exciting game because, the Jazz, they're just bad, but the Knicks, they definitely deserve to be in this top 3 spot, without a doubt, and part of the reason why I think the Celtics ended up taking a little bit of a dip is because the Celtics, they ended up losing to the Pacers, and the Pacers, they are not as competent of a team as they were in the previous year. So I think that's a big reason why the Celtics, they ended up taking a dip in the rankings. Meanwhile, the Knicks, they've been winning a lot of their games. So the Memphis Grizzlies, of course, because the Celtics moved down, it's only natural that the Grizzlies end up moving down. And there's really no problem that I have with Memphis being ranked so high. They are a sleeper team. Like, there's no one really talking about how good the Memphis Grizzlies are, but you can see by the numbers, number 5 in offensive rating and number 5 in defensive rating, that is a team that is meant to succeed. Like, when you can get it done on both the offensive side of the ball, when you can get it done on both the defensive side of the ball, you are a very dangerous team. And I will say, Zach Edey he's been very solid as a player for this team. Now, he did not get to play against the Phoenix Suns for whatever reason, but aside from that, he's been probably one of the brighter spots in the rookie class, at least in my opinion. Again, that's just my opinion. He's, again, The Memphis Grizzlies, they don't really get that much media attention, but Zach Edey's been pretty solid in my opinion. A lot of people, they thought he was going to be like the next version of Boban, which I thought was very, very disrespectful, but he's been proving them wrong in my opinion. The Dallas Mavericks, I mean, them being at 6 with their offensive rating, it makes total sense. I'm not very high on this team, but again, I don't really think there are many teams that you can put over them based off of their record, based off of the players that they have, and based off of the system that they run. I think this is pretty solid so far on this list. Houston, them being ranked at 7th, again, rather solid. They've been another sleeper team. They've been more dominant on the defense, as you can see from the defensive rating, more so than they were on the offense, but defense wins championships. It definitely helps when winning championships. Like, you can't always rely on your offense. The Timberwolves being at number 8, I really don't agree with that whatsoever. I think at 12 was really the best spot for them, but let's see the teams that are directly under them. So, all right, that makes sense. I mean, I don't think the Miami Heat are a good team. I don't think they should be this high, but I don't think they should be higher than the Timberwolves. That is definitely a no-no. The Magic, they moved down a little bit. It makes total sense because they do not have a competent team as of right now. Not having Franz Wagner and not having Paolo Banchero is a huge, huge missed opportunity for this Orlando Magic team. I really do think that if they had either of those players healthy in a majority of these games, that they would end up winning them in the end, and they should probably be where the Timberwolves are. At least either 7th or 8th is where the Orlando Magic should be if they had Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. The Clippers, going up to number 11, they've been very solid, especially with Norman Powell and James Harden. They've been doing their thing. They've been a surprisingly competent defensive team, and their offensive rating, while it's not really the best, their defensive rating is what's keeping them afloat in a lot of these conversations and in the winning category. So this makes a little bit of sense. The Bucks, they moved down. They should move down a little bit more, in my opinion. But again, when you have someone like Giannis on the team, it's very, very difficult to move a team down like that. And I mean, right now, last I checked, they were losing to they just lost to the Brooklyn Nets. So again, I'm not really taking. I said before that I wasn't going to be taking the games that happened so far into account when looking at these rankings, but you can see why I genuinely do not feel confident in the Bucks and why I don't think they should be in a ranking this high, and especially not at number 8, which they were last week. So 12 for now with what this list is okay. I think they should have been a little bit lower, and they're probably going to end up being a lot lower after this week. The Denver Nuggets, again, another team that's been very disappointing. Mainly because they're not able to get it done without Jokic playing basketball. That's really the big problem with this team. They're a great team when Jokic is on the floor, but when he's off the floor, they are a terrible team. Like, there's just no question about it. The Hawks being in the mid-tier, I guess that makes a little bit of sense. They've been able to win a little bit in some of these games. They ended up going on a 3-game losing streak, and then they ended up getting 4 straight wins. They are literally like the most mid team in the entirety of the NBA. It doesn't make sense. I mean, look at that. 16 in offensive rating, 16 in defensive rating, 16 in net rating. It's like, they're so mid. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how, like, and this happens every single year, too. The Lakers not moving, I think that's fair because, again, they've been winning games, but they've also been losing some really bad games. Like, they put up some stinkers in the recent weeks. Again, losing to the Cavs, while this did happen after the list was made, it makes sense why they're ranked at number 15 as of when this list was made. 16, the Pacers, obviously they're going to get a boost because they ended up beating the Milwaukee Bucks, which are a team that's rather overrated. I think the Pacers being at 18 is a spot that really suits them more than being at number 16. The Warriors, terrible. I had a feeling that that the slump was going to happen eventually, and it happened. It's happening right now. The Golden State Warriors, they have been horrendous in these last few games. Now, I'm saying this right now, meanwhile, they're up 52-36, but they're playing the 76ers. So it makes sense that they're able to beat a team like that. Is Joel Embiid playing in this game? Let me get back to you on that. Oh, he is playing in this game, but guess what? He's only got 4 points. Paul George is having a pretty good game with 9 points. But again, the Warriors being at number 17, this makes total sense. This is very well deserved. Philly moving up to 18 makes 0 sense to me. They should be at 20th at the very most. Let's see the teams that are directly under that. Yeah, the Spurs are a better team than the 76ers. I don't care what anyone says. I genuinely do not. I do not see the 76ers doing much in the postseason. And the San Antonio Spurs, they play in a much more difficult conference than the 76ers. I mean, look at that. 12-17 compared to 16-16. That is unbelievable. The Phoenix Suns, they're another team that I don't think is worse than the 76ers or worse than the Golden State Warriors. A big reason is because they can't really stay healthy. They also suffer from a big problem like the 76ers. So maybe that's why they're ranked at number 20th, because they can't really stay healthy, and they've been 6-14 since mid-November. But again, I genuinely I think maybe putting the Suns at 19, the Spurs over here, and then the 76ers below the Suns is a list that makes a little bit more sense. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, because it can still be interchangeable. The Bulls at 21 makes sense. Detroit at 22 also makes sense. The Kings moving down to 23 also makes sense. They've been very, very disappointing this year, and I think they're only going to get worse after firing Mike Brown. The Brooklyn Nets at 24, they're probably going to go up after beating the Bucks. Portland at 25, another team that makes sense. Utah at 26 makes sense. Washington should be at 30. I do not care what anyone says. That record does not deserve to be at 27. The Raptors being at 28 makes a little bit of sense. They're trying to get Cooper Flag. The Charlotte Hornets at 29 and the Pelicans at 30. This list makes sense. The bottom part of this list is okay. But the top of this list, with the Bucks being ranked as high as they are, with Miami being ranked as high as they are, I do not agree with it at all. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. But that's all that I have for this segment, and that's it for the podcast. So thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Sports Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. We love to hear what you guys have to say during the show, whether it's a hot take, burning question, something you're dying to share. We're all ears. And if you really want your comment and or question to get noticed, then you can use Super Chat. Just click on the $ below the chat box and send in your comments and or donations that way. Or you can use the link displayed below the ticker, gsmcpodcast.net. Either or really helps the show. That's all that I have today for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson, and as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't